Hello again, Steve here. I wanted to talk a little bit today about clearing the mind. There has been a lot been said, and there's a lot of effort done towards this through books and teachings and practices and so on. A lot of the times it's to do with things like meditation and yoga and various practices. And I'm sure a lot of these things work to a great extent, although this reminds me of a quote I once heard from a guy named Gary Halbert. Some of you know who Gary Halbert is. He was known as a marketing genius, very controversial, very harsh in his words in a way, but he's the kind of guy that if he was to take on a project of marketing something, it would sell. It was quite amazing, his accomplishments. But he had this saying that went something like this: more has been achieved through perspiration than will ever be achieved through meditation. And his point was that, activity is what really gets the juices going in our lives. And though perhaps for some meditative approaches work, and that could be a part of the component for sure, although even if you look back at the teachings of the Buddha, for example, who is probably known as one of the world's greatest meditators, right? It's very much of an activity involved in getting to that point. A lot of times people will see the masters, see the Oshos and the gurus and so on, and they can just sit there and they go into nirvana or whatever. But we're not seeing the thousands of hours of activity and so on that grew up to that. So there's a guy who's practiced a guitar all of his life, he just picks it up and his fingers just fly just like they're on fire, right? The average individual can't do that. That takes a lot of time, takes a lot of training. So in the meantime, activity, right? And then things can become more natural. What I've been discovering lately is the importance of, not just lately, but it's been a thing of mine throughout my life, but I can get clouded up, right, with all kinds of mind junk. But it is important, for me anyways, to unload the amount of mind junk in there. And one of the reasons I've found is that there seems to be a gulf between where I am and what it is I want to do. Let's say I want to build something. Well, then I go to sleep at night, thinking about that, because it's like it's not built and I want to build it, right? So there's a gulf, and that's actually what drives us in a way, is that gulf, right? But why stress about it when we're not actually working on it? And how can we improve this? Well, through the activity, I think, of organization. And there's a book that's been written, I'll give a little bit of a plug here. It's not my book, I get nothing for this at all. And not even if I get 10 views do I get anything for it. The guy's name is David Allen, and the book is called Getting Things Done. And you might think it's just a to B, A to Z instruction on, doing your file cabinet or something. But there's a lot of preparatory work that he talks about in here in terms of a mindset, right? In terms of a mindset of getting that stuff out of there and using the systems that are naturally within us. He talks about the mind as being a very creative organ, but not a great organizer. It'll store stuff deep down inside, but in order to retrieve it, it can be a lot of work. So he talks about the idea of when things come up, dump them, put them into a system. And I've been working on my office here for about a week now, getting things organized. I had like 1,500 emails backed up. My whole desktop on my computer was completely full of icons of stuff out there. The computer was slowed down. My physical desktop was full of stuff. I had no file cabinet. I had shelves that had stuff falling off them. It was just a complete disaster to try to get anything done. And no system to unload my stuff. Now I'm developing, and I'm following along the lines of his instructions of actually having an inbox, get an idea, put it down in a little notebook somehow, and then once a day transcribe that onto the inbox as into the process, right? And then once it gets into the it's sitting right here, that's my little box starting to work. And then it can start to get processed, and then eventually filed, if it's references, put into an in-process box where it's a job that's being worked on, but actionable steps upon them. And you know what? I can't explain to you how, really, how it feels, the relief that there is, that I don't have to cloud my mind with all these little things that are going on, because everything is getting into a process. In fact, today I spent about a few hours, good few hours on my computer, not only the desktop, but going back into the directories and so on the computer. And it's astounding how much junk was in there. I mean, I dumped into the trash bin of the computer over and over, had to empty it out, and when it actually flushed for a longer period, it was like, and the bar kind of went slowly. There was so much stuff in there. No wonder the computer was so slow. And the computer, in a way, operates in a similar way, but on a more juvenile way probably than our minds, right? If we're all clouded up with stuff that's not properly directed, then it's got to slow things down. Whereas, and he talks about it here, it doesn't matter how much stuff we have going on, if it's in a process and we follow that process by putting things into an inbox, routinely going through them, figuring what the next step is, and only worry about the next step. Put that into the next process of get the step done, right? And so on. I mean, there's a lot more involved with it, but I would recommend anybody who's had that challenge that I have had of not being able to organize much in my mind, not being a great multiple tasker at all, but yet having all kinds of stuff on the go. If you're sort of like that, then I would recommend a book like this. Came highly recommended to me, and I suppose you can get an e-copy of it as well. And you can he talks about how you can do this digitally, set yourself up digitally. You can set it up old paper and boxes. I got a little bit of a combination of both, but I'm getting there. It's going to take me a while yet to get there all the way, but it certainly is a lot more comfortable just to have things come together. I mean, I can actually walk in my office for one thing. I was away for quite a while. It became like a broom closet. Everything got dumped, but now I'm getting that sorted out, and I can actually put something down on the desk. But it's only supposed to be on the desk if I'm using it. If I'm not using it, it's supposed to be off the desk or into its own little spot, as any kind of organization system works. And it doesn't take a lot of effort once it's set up, but things have got to be more effective. So, improving the quality of our life experiences. Well, for me anyways, if I can clear my head of a lot of stuff, then if I'm talking to somebody or out socializing or even with the family, I can give them attention, more attention, because I'm not cluttered up with all kinds of other things. Steve here again, great chatting. I hope these few comments on the importance of organization and clearing the mind of all the extra stuff is valuable to you. Talk again soon. Bye for now.